We're making this short video to give you some behind the scenes about how and why of our video production and our online presence. Online presence. Even saying that sounds so strange when you think back to this time last year. Who would have thought? Those of you who've been journeying with us know that some of the ways we have been connecting you with prayer practice has been an eventful learning curve since March. Back at the beginning of the pandemic shutdown, when our churches were closed, it was really important for us to find a way to help you stay grounded in familiar faith practices. I laugh now when I think about some of our first fumbling efforts, like sideways cameras, slightly weird lighting, sound that you couldn't really hear, and, of course, some truly spectacular outtakes.
Easter, so welcome to St. John's Liturgy online for Pentecost Sunday. We'll do that again.
But we managed, and you shared with us in daily evening and morning prayer, and quickly we added a pre-recorded video of Sunday morning. We added singers, readers, bell ringers, and we always, of course, had Jürgen playing at the organ, which has been a wonderfully anchoring presence and sound. We added to our team too. Prior to March, Colleen and Rod Murray were our social media managers, and Steve Hornet provided hardware and software support to our phone systems, data management, and our website. Suddenly, all of these roles have morphed into being video editors, audio-visual producers, stage crew, sound crew, technicians, and more. We've learned a new term recently: tech deacons, those who assist in community worship and make word, prayer, and learning accessible beyond the walls of our building. This really is the perfect term to describe the ministry of our technical team.
Back in July, when we knew that we were going to be able to have worship in person again in the fall, we realized that not everybody would be able to attend, and those numbers would be limited. So how will we reach people who aren't able to be here each week? So over the summer, we started learning about what we would need to do to have a live broadcast of Sunday morning services. A lot of you have been asking about that. Some questions like, how do you do that? Do we have cameras all over the church? How much does this cost? Why is the sound sometimes not very good? This video is here to answer those and more of your questions, and to give you kind of a backstage tour of how our live stream works. We have heard and we really appreciate all the feedback that you have given us, and so we want to share some news about how we're going to make it better and how you could help with that. When we were doing pre-recorded services, we realized very quickly that having one static camera was, well, kind of dull to watch. And nobody watches the service sitting in the middle of the aisle, so it's kind of an unfamiliar view. So we would gather together on Thursday morning. We'd record the worship service in chunks. We'd take a tripod and move it around to different angles to get different views of the front of the church. And then Rod would edit all of those segments together so that you would get what you saw on our YouTube channel throughout the spring and summer. Many of you participated in that process as bell ringers, readers, and several choristers were featured as soloists. Now that we're here in person each week, we wanted to bring our worship time and experience to the whole community so that people here in the pews and people sitting in their living room at home can worship together, in a sense, at the same time. Rather than having an in-person worship and then the online worship, and those be two different things, it was important to us to gather the community, in a sense, and share the experience, even if we can't be sharing the same space. That's been a new challenge. We want people here in person to be able to see and hear the liturgy and have the same kind of experience that they are used to, in as much as possible, while staying safe. But we wanted people at home to be able to have a good experience too, and to be able to see and hear the liturgy. Whatever our plans were, the liturgy and how it flowed had to be a good experience for both groups of people. How do we do it? Well, as the saying goes, there's an app for that. We're using an app called Switcher Studio, and it's being used by churches all over the place. It uses technology that we already have, iPhones and an iPad that acts as the switcher console. It's pretty cool. The individual cameras are 4 or 5 iPhones placed around the church. Back right, for the full church, font cam, which gives a slightly higher up angle. Front left to see the prayer desk and the altar. Front right for the choir. We also have the organ cam to see Jürgen playing and also the reader at the lectern. And the altar cam for slightly closer up look of the priest celebrating the Eucharist. We've played around with different angles and shots, and some of those definitely did not work. But now we think we have the cameras pretty well sorted out. Occasionally we have hiccups, like a camera freezing, but we're figuring that out. Now, what about the sound? So the sound is picked up just by this iPad, which is the one that's doing the switching. So the microphone on here was the only one that would pick things up. We realized that wasn't going to work, so what we have added is this really lovely Omni microphone, and this picks up the sound super well for the things that are immediately around it. So the reader, the organ, the choir, anybody standing reading at the prayer desk, so things that are right around here. What this microphone doesn't pick up very well is anything that's in the sound in the room. So things that are picked up by microphones that are coming out of the speakers that are mounted, you've probably seen them before, they're mounted up on shelves so that the sound can be heard by the congregation really well. So that's a problem, because anything that's picked up by a microphone is not going to be heard. There's a small microphone here on the wall, you may not have noticed it before, at the altar. But because the OmniMic doesn't capture the sound that are coming through the sound system, through the speakers, that means you don't hear what is happening at the altar. It's great for the in-person congregation, but not so great for filming. So, I hear you say, why don't we just connect the church sound system into the recording device? Well, we considered that. But the soundboard is in the basement, and it would be complicated and expensive to do that. Here's the solution we came up with. We're going to purchase 2 wireless headset mics, and those will be worn by the clergy. They'll be connected to a small sound mixing board. The inputs will be the OmniMic, that big one I showed you before, and the 2 headset mics. That way the sound on our videos will be really consistent, and you won't have the problem of not being able to hear parts of the service. Yes, there is a modest cost to all of this, but given that we're going to be doing this for many months to come, we think it's worth it. The Switcher app subscription cost us $40 a month, so that's about $10 per service. The headset and the small mixing board that we need to get are going to cost somewhere between $300 and $400. If you'd like to make a special donation to contribute to that, feel free to make a contribution the way you do each week, by e-transfer, dropping an envelope through the door of the parish center, or by mail. And yes, we'll be able to continue to use the equipment even after COVID times. The wireless headset and mic will improve the sound quality at the 9 o'clock service, which right now is totally unmiked. It will allow readers and speakers to be located in different places around the church at special services. So it's a long-term investment. It's not just for right now. The best thing is, it will help those who are watching our online liturgies to be better connected to the worship experience so that we're all worshiping together.